You're watching Ticket TV. Like, share, and subscribe on your way in. All right, can y'all hear me? Can everybody hear me in here? Got a mic check going on. Salute everybody in the building. Let me know if y'all can hear me, man. I got a mic check. Got a mic check. And let y'all know what's going on. Oh, y'all can hear me, man? Shout out to Celicia. I appreciate you. Came through with $100 donation to the Cash App, man. And as always, if y'all want to donate, all you got to do is scan that QR code in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, or you can click one of the links pinned at the top of the comments, man. As salute everybody that's tapped on in. I have some news for you guys tonight, man. As Sean Diddy Combs, who is trying to get an appeal. No, he's already got an appeal. He's trying to get out of prison right now. He's trying to get out of federal prison. Sean Diddy Combs has potentially been hit with devastating news, and that is that the word that's going on in the courthouse right now in a different case that's somewhat, and I want to show you guys what's going on. Diddy, I'm pretty sure he's found out by now that apparently they are working on bringing state charges against Diddy right now. So Diddy, apparently, according to reports that's revealed in court the other day, that Diddy, that they're working on bringing state charges against Diddy right now. Now, let me let y'all know what's going on and how this came about. Now, what you see on your screen right here, that is United States District Court, Southern District of New York, and some paperwork. Now, what you guys are looking at is a guy named Steve Otis, right? Now, here's the breakdown, right? So Steve Otis was suing a guy who went by the alias of uh, Garen James, right? He's also known as Brett Taylor. Now, according to these reports right here, uh, Steve Otis, who was suing this guy, right? And remember, this name is going to be very important because I'm going to break this down for y'all so y'all can understand what's going on, right? Uh, Brett Taylor, aka Garrett James, or Garrett James, aka Brett Taylor, right? His accuser ended up getting granted a default judgment, right? Now, this guy was reportedly Diddy's his companion provider, right? Now, the judge, her name is Judge Preska, as you guys can see right there, Loretta Preska, senior United States District Judge, right? She said the defendant was properly served with the notice of this action, evaded service, and willfully defaulted. Now, let me read this to you guys because y'all need to understand this for it to make sense to y'all. So this paper right here, as y'all see, and I'll start from the first paragraph. It says Loretta A. Preska, Senior United States District Judge. For the reasons stated at today's hearing, the court finds that defendant Taylor was properly served with with notice of this action, evaded service, and willfully defaulted. Accordingly, the plaintiff's motion for default judgment, document 79, is granted. The parties shall inform the court by letter no later than by March 25th, 2026, how they propose to proceed with the damages inquest and whether they seek discovery in advance. The clerk court shall close document 79, so ordered, dated New York, New York, March the 17th, 2026, signed Loretta A. Preska, Senior United States District Judge. Now, let's move forward, you guys, so you guys can understand what's going on, right? Now, they're saying that in his hearing, right, that the defendant's attorney said that he has cooperated with a police investigation and believes the state's charges are forthcoming against Sean Diddy Combs. Now, here's the thing. Remember that name on the top of your screen, Garrett James, aka Brett Taylor. Why is that name important? Because when Sean Diddy Combs got his sentencing, Judge Armed Submarinian, shout out to my girl down in the rabbit hole. Y'all go subscribe to her channel because she when they got this paperwork. The Judge Armed Submarinian, Diddy's judge, he put this in Diddy's filing. Now, if you read the screen right there, read that orange part right there, that's outlined right there. It says the court finds by a preponderance of the evidence that the offense also involved Combs and at least 3 criminally other responsible participants, Christina Coram, Garen James, and Bridget Collins. Now, it also went on to say, and that it used the services of numerous outsiders and were peculiar and necessary to this offense, including Fahim Muhammad and Combs' various assistants. This is what the judge said at the end of Diddy's trial. Let me read this again. Tell y'all why it's important. Because something happened in court the other day. And Diddy, it seems like he is, and I'm going to give y'all some information that's going to blow y'all socks off. So the court finds by a preponderance of evidence, this is the Judge Armed Submarine, this is what he said, back in Diddy's sentencing, that the offense also involved Combs and at least 3 criminally other responsible participants, Christina Coram, Garen James, and Bridget Collins, and that it used the services of numerous outsiders that were peculiar and necessary to this offense. Now, here's the thing. Everybody says, well, if he says that the court finds all this, why weren't any of those other people charged? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the bad news is it looks like they're about to be charged. What are you talking about, Ticket? Well, let me show you what I'm talking about. The man who was in the courtroom, he spoke about this. He spoke about this on his channel, Watching the World. Salute to this brother. He's in the courtroom. And he basically put out this information and let everybody know what happened in that courtroom with Diddy. And I'm about to show y'all something right now. To work with him outside of our legal or our contractual arrangement. See?
Yeah, and I think for that company, they're going to try to get themselves out of that particular lawsuit because what they're going to say is, hey, he was fired. Now, and once he is fired, anything that he has done outside of that now is his personal situation. Has nothing to do with my company. Even though my company initially dealt with him and Mr. Combs, once we let him go, he was not our employee when it came down to that. Wow. And that's a good way for a company to try to get themselves out of that situation.
Right. So it wasn't really a case about Sean Diddy Combs, but they were pointing out how this individual tried to out Diddy as being gay back in 2014. And he said he received a call from Sean Diddy Combs saying, hey, listen, why is one of your dancers on Instagram and Twitter saying that we're spending time together? And he's known to have a gay personality.
Now, let me stop this. Everybody needs to smash the like button, share, and subscribe. Shout out to the brother over there from Watching the World. Y'all go subscribe to his show. He is putting out what was stated in court the other day. Now, you need to listen very closely because he tells you what they stated in court. Because something happened in court yesterday, and they're going to tell you exactly what happened. Let me play this again for y'all because this is very important.
Over a month. Like high-end individuals, they have the money to do this. I mean, I never really knew that, right? But at any rate, they were in court because of, they're trying to argue that the process server actually broke a lot of rules. In fact, the guy, his name is Garen James, said his wife was inside her garage, which you really couldn't see from the road. The process server came inside the garage. They were really upset about that. So that was the big point of contention. But a lot of different points came out in regards to the case. Like, for instance, Sean Diddy Combs hired one of the dancers that came from the company Cowboys and Angels, but he was a gay male, and he was involved with this freak off that they were having. Mm-hmm. When the guy heard about Cassie's $30 million lawsuit, he started to say Sean Diddy Combs violated him too. And he has a whole scenario that's in the actual documentation, the court paperwork, talking about how Diddy pretty much violated him. Okay, so basically that came out today that when he was fired, talking about this dancer, when he was fired by Cowboys and Angels, Diddy started dealing with this gay guy, this dancer directly. So that's why the owner is saying, listen, all of this happened after Diddy chose to work with him outside of our legal or our contractual arrangement. See?
Yeah, and I think for that company, they're going to try to get themselves out of that particular lawsuit because what they're going to say is, hey, he was fired. Now, and once he is fired, anything that he has done outside of that now is his personal situation, has nothing to do with my company. Even though my company initially dealt with him and Mr. Combs, once we let him go, he was not our employee when it came down to that. Wow. And that's a good way for a company to try to get themselves out of that situation.
Right. So it wasn't really a case about Sean Diddy Combs, but they were pointing out how this individual tried to out Diddy as being gay back in 2014. And he said he received a call from Sean Diddy Combs saying, hey, listen, why is one of your dancers on Instagram and Twitter saying that we're spending time together? And he's known to have a gay personality and a character out there. So Diddy was upset according to what came out in court.
Yeah, that makes sense because what's happening is Diddy's probably like, hey man, what's going on with your guy? And the company's like, what guy? Oh, this guy here. And it's like, he no longer works for us. And so it's probably what happened was the guy realized, hey, I might be able to get some money here. And let me get away from this company. Maybe if I work independently with Mr. Combs, I can get all of the money. I don't have to pay them a fee. And it seems like, okay, now Cassie has a lawsuit. I feel like I've been touched or mistreated or had things done to me. So I'm going to sue too. And that's where you got to be extremely careful when you're dealing with people that live that lifestyle. And what I think is happening here, Mel, and you could actually double down with me on this one. I think there's a whole lifestyle. There's a whole lot that the average American, the average person had never really thought about. Like renting a person for a month, renting a boyfriend or girlfriend for an entire month. That's something.
Now, listen to what he's about to say now. They're about to get into the criminal part. You guys smash the like button, share the video, like the video. This is all the stuff that was going on in court yesterday that everybody doesn't know about. This is all the stuff that was going on in court yesterday, in civil court. But now they're talking about they were working on more criminal charges on Diddy, and they're going to bring forth potentially more criminal charges, but on the state level against Diddy. Diddy's already got to do where Donald Trump has already said he's not pardoning him on the federal level. Donald Trump cannot pardon state. Let's keep going.
Some people have the money to be able to do, and it's actually a thing. And we really don't know that.
Wow. It was quite shocking. You know, something else that was mind-boggling that came out in court today?
What else?
The one of the lawyers was questioning, and this guy's going by his alias, Garen James, but he has his real name. What was interesting from the original case with Sean Diddy Combs, when the judge gave his final comments in Diddy's case, he used the guy's alias and not his real name.
Now, this is the thing. He's talking about this right here, what I just showed y'all. And this man was in the court yesterday to hear this entire stuff. There was attorneys, everybody's in that courtroom yesterday hearing this entire situation. Now, in the judge final ruling, we got the paperwork right here. He did name Garen James. But apparently this guy, his alias was Garen James, but he was also known as Brett Taylor. But it gets even crazier. This situation that's going on right now. And now, listen to what he says.
How can a federal judge in a federal court say that this individual will be a co-conspirator and still have an alias? Wouldn't they have the means to get his real name?
Yeah, you should be able to get his real name. But what happens is, if somebody's considered a victim, then, sometimes, even though it can be a co-conspirator, if it's sexual, sometimes they can try to hide those names. It's very, 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 it's just kind of touchy there. To me, if you're a co-conspirator, your name should be out there. If you're going to be listed as that, they ought to be able to put your name out there. So sometimes that's why they don't put those names out there like that.
So the guy who was the founder of Cowboys and Angels, he sold the company back in 2021. Now he's just a coach at the local school, living his best life. And now he's stressed out because now all of this stuff is coming back to haunt him from a company that he had founded.
And that's the sad part about it. When you kind of get involved in those companies, even when you leave, if people realize that's your past, then you're in trouble. I had a school teacher some years ago. We ended up being on Extra or one of those news shows. And what ended up happening was she had done like one adult movie when she was 18 or 19, when she was in a very bad relationship, a very controlling relationship. Well, she did a couple of things, maybe 2 or 3 movies when she was 18 or 19. She broke away from that relationship, never got arrested in her life, never did anything bad, got out, went to college, became a teacher, was actually teacher of the year one year. And this is 21, 22, 23 years later. One of her students saw one of the old movies and pointed her out. And then the school district took her job away from her. And so I always tell people, when you're involved in this kind of business, that kind of thing can creep up or pop up out of a hole 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Wow, that's something. Another thing that came out in court when his name is Garen James, when they were questioning him, the defense attorney stood up and said, why are you guys questioning my client in regards to all of these issues? You're trying to gather information for the state case, criminal case that they're bringing against Sean Diddy Combs.
Game over. This was said in court yesterday. This man just spoke about what they said in court yesterday. So the dude who Judge Armed Submarinian, you guys see, this is the actual transcript from the judge when Diddy got sentenced in federal court. The judge said, Submarinian said, the court finds by a preponderance of evidence, right? And then it goes on to name these at least 3 criminally other responsible participants. This is what the judge said in court, but everybody missed this because they were just focused on that sentence. So everybody said, well, why did the judge give him only 50 months? Well, I'm starting to believe that the judge already knew they were going to come pack Diddy up, because here's something that everybody doesn't know. If the feds don't get you, the state can, and Trump cannot save you. So what the judge did, in my opinion, not knowing how Trump was going to play it with Diddy, he didn't go overboard on his sentencing. He made it so that if Diddy appeals, which he will, and which he has his court date next month, they will deny it, knowing that Diddy's getting ready to get hit with a tsunami of other charges ASAP, but on a state level. That way, Donald Trump can't even think about overturning that, because Donald Trump cannot touch state charges. So as long as they had Diddy locked up, this is why they're feeling, I'm guessing, that Diddy wants an expedited appeal hearing to get out now. They want to keep him down, in my opinion. So when they hit him with this tsunami of other charges, and listen again, the man was in the courtroom yesterday. They were questioning Garen James, and his attorney stood up, they said, well, hey man, hold on. Why are you guys trying to question my guy for your state case that you're bringing against Diddy? Your state criminal case that you're bringing against Diddy. Why y'all trying to question my guy? Listen to this again. It's all been revealed in court yesterday. They are coming with Diddy for the state. And guess what? So the guy he was talking to, he thought, well, they can't do this again with Diddy. He can't do double jeopardy. But guess what, y'all? I'm about to show y'all something that's going to terrify Diddy and anybody who supports him.
So the guy who was the founder of Cowboys and Angels, he sold the company back in 2021. Now he's just a coach at the local school, living his best life. And now he's like stressed out because now all of this stuff is coming back to haunt him.
Now let me fast
movies
forward.
and pointed her out. And then the school district took her job away from her.
Now listen again. Listen again. Because this is the important part. They are definitely bringing charges back on Diddy. And I think it's going to be more than one set of state charges. I think it's going to be different state charges across the board. Now, here's why. I'm going to play it again. This happened in court yesterday. Nobody talked about this. But if you go back and look at the judge's transcript, he said right there, y'all see it on y'all screen. You can go by the transcript yourself. Shout out to my girl down in the rabbit hole. She paid for that transcript. The judge said when he sentenced Diddy, read right there, third yellow orange line. It says at least three Combs and at least three criminally other responsible participants. Christina Coram, Garen James. You guys remember whose name's on that paperwork? Garen James, aka Brett Taylor. This all went down in court yesterday. Now listen to this, y'all. And Bridget Collins, right? And it went on, the judge went on to say a whole lot of other stuff. And people were saying, well, how did this judge do all of these other things? Hey, man, listen, bro. They had a cake bake for this dude, bro. So when everybody was saying, why didn't he do all this stuff with him? I told you guys before, when I went back and thought about it, I said, damn, Maureen Comey was going after Diddy, but she probably didn't know where Trump was sitting at on this whole thing. So if you're Maureen Comey, I just had to put myself in their mindset. Why would you hit Diddy with the whole slab? If you're Maureen Comey, for Trump to come in one swoop and knock it all down, why not leave something on the table for somebody else to come pick that up? That way Trump can't do shit. But when they found out, Trump came and fired Maureen Comey. But we'll talk about that later, because the Maureen Comey situation, everybody was wrong about that, in my opinion. The Maureen Comey situation with Trump firing her had nothing to do with the Diddy case. It had everything, in my opinion, to do with the Jeffrey Epstein case, because it was Maureen Comey that was prosecuting Ghislaine Maxwell and those people. So Maureen Comey would know a lot. So that's why Trump would want the daddy locked up and want Maureen Comey out of there. But back to this case right here. So everybody that was going off on Maureen Comey, maybe Maureen Comey was told, don't bring all that right now. Because if you bring all that and they nail Diddy for all that, Donald Trump could just come through and with one swoop of the pen, knock all of that shit off the record. So now, in court, remember, when the armed submarinian gave Diddy that light sentence and everybody was, what do you mean you gave him only 50 months? Some people thought it was too harsh. Some people thought it was too much. But nobody was satisfied, really, on either side, whether you wanted him more time or less time. But I believe that the judge was very smart and very articulate and knew what was coming down the pipe. Those people all know each other in those court systems. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to show you something right now that's going to probably eat at Diddy right now. That's why he wants to get out. Pause. He probably wants to get out so bad right now because of what I'm going to show y'all in just a second. Remember, the judge said, armed submarinian, when he sentenced Diddy, there was 3 other people criminally responsible. Everybody said, well, why ain't they been charged? Why didn't they charge those people? Why didn't they? Well, maybe the judge already knew that the cake been baked, but it just wasn't him that was going to take it out the oven. Now, let me play what he said again, and let me show you why Sean Diddy Combs have major trouble. This happened in court yesterday.
And so I always tell people, when you're involved in this kind of business, that kind of thing could creep up or pop up out of a hole 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Wow, that's something. Another thing that came out in court when his name is Garen James, when they were questioning him, the defense attorney stood up and said, he said, why are you guys questioning my client in regards to all of these issues? You're trying to gather information for the state case, criminal case that they're bringing against Sean Diddy Combs.
There you go. He says that the defendant attorney stood up in court yesterday and said, man, why are you guys asking him all these questions? Y'all trying to get information from him from the state criminal case they're bringing against Diddy. Everybody down in that courtroom must know. And that courthouse must know they're bringing state charges against Diddy. And guess what, y'all? Guess what I looked up? Because the other brother that was talking to him, he didn't know. He said, hey, man, they can't hit Diddy with double jeopardy. And any of those, they got to come with something new. And maybe they do have something new, or maybe they don't. But the judge, armed submarinian, named this man, Garen James. He wasn't charged in that federal case. But guess what I found out, you guys? This is probably the worst news that Diddy will ever find out. And I had to look it up just to make sure. Because when the other guy said, hey, man, he might face double jeopardy, I said, damn, he might be right. Ain't that double jeopardy? But guess what, y'all? It's not. I went and looked it up myself. Can a different state charge Diddy if the feds already tried the case? The answer is yes. A different state can charge Sean Diddy Combs or anyone else, even if the federal government has already prosecuted and tried the case for related conduct. This is allowed under U.S. law due to the dual sovereignty doctrine. The Fifth Amendment's double jeopardy clause prevents being tried twice for the same offense by the same sovereign. However, the U.S. Supreme Court has long held in cases like United States versus Lanza, 1922, Abbott versus United States, 1959, and reaffirmed in Gamble versus the United States in 2019 that the federal government and each individual state are separate sovereigns. This means violating both federal and state laws with the same underlying actions count as two distinct offenses. And it goes on. It goes on. A state can prosecute independently, regardless of whether the federal case resulted in a conviction, acquittal, or partial outcome. Multiple states could theoretically do the same if the conduct violated laws in different jurisdictions, e.g., crimes occurring in New York versus California. In Diddy's specific case, his federal trial in the Southern District of New York concluded with convictions on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution under the Mann Act, a federal law involving interstate transportation, but acquittals on the more serious racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking charges. He was sentenced to about 4 years in prison, with eligibility for release around 2028, after credits and appeals ongoing as of early 2026. No state-level criminal charges have been filed so far for the same conduct, though numerous civil lawsuits exist in sexual assault and related claims. While legally possible for a state, New York, California, or others, where alleged events occurred to bring charges like sexual assault, or state-level sex trafficking, human trafficking offenses is uncommon practice after federal prosecution, especially for overlapping facts due to prosecutorial discretion, resource limits, and policies discouraging redundant cases. Experts have noted that the state follow-ups are rare here, particularly after federal acquittals on core allegations, but is not barred by double jeopardy. In short, federal prosecution does not shield someone from state charges for the same acts and vice versa. So yesterday, when this man was in court and he heard in court that they said that they were bringing state charges against Diddy.
Other thing that came out in court when his name is Garen James, when they were questioning him, The defense attorney stood up and said, he said, why are you guys questioning my client in regards to all of these issues? You're trying to gather information for the state case, criminal case that they're bringing against Sean Diddy Combs.
Boy, this is about to get disgusting. And this ain't even the same situation as in LA, that they had an ongoing investigation in the state for Diddy, for that dude, Jonathan Hay. This is a whole different situation. And remember, this is with Garen James. And Garen James, this is the crazy part. Judge Armed Submarinian said he found by preponderance of evidence, right, that these dudes were criminally responsible participants. And he named Christina Coram, Garen James, and Bridget Collins. Boy, this thing's finna get diabolical, nigga. They are reportedly bringing state charges against Diddy. The day is probably gonna drop any day now that they're gonna bring state charges against Diddy. And this is just, if you're Diddy, man, and you fighting all them civil cases, you've had issues come out with your attorneys as far as, financial issues, but then they said he got that together. But now you're still getting hit with all these different lawsuits and stuff like that. And now to go through a whole nother case. Remember, O.J. Simpson was not federal, he was state. He was facing damn near life in prison. If they go hit Diddy with the state case, and they can do it without being charged double jeopardy. There's some powerful people that Diddy have ticked off because these attorneys, these lawyers, and people that was in court yesterday, when nobody was talking about this other situation because people didn't listen to what Judge Submarinian had to say at the end of his whole statement, they didn't listen to what he had to say. Man.
They don't put those names out there like that.
So the guy who was the founder of Cowboys and Angels, he sold the company back in
2 or 3 movies when she was 18 or 19.
Crazy work, man.
Questioning him. The defense attorney stood up and said, he said, why are you guys questioning my client in regards to all of these issues? You're trying to gather information for the state case, criminal case that they're bringing against Sean Diddy Combs.
And that's another thing. Diddy gets hit with those state cases, that will be televised. The state cases are televised. That means everybody will see all the evidence and everything, whatever it is presented in court. This is about to get crazy. Now I see why Diddy wanted an expedited hearing, appeal hearing. And I'm going to tell you guys something. I believe if he's hit with those charges before or right after that hearing, I believe he may be hit with those charges before that hearing. This guy said this happened in court yesterday, and it's being reported that this happened in court yesterday. Man. Well, I told you guys, when they couldn't get John Gotti the first time, they went after John Gotti 3 more times until they got him. When they want you, they're not going to stop until they get you. And so they may run the funds out on Diddy. What do I mean? They may run his funds dry. Right? Man, bro. So now it makes sense why Maureen Comey didn't hit Diddy with everything. Big Gene Deal, he was saying, well, why didn't they charge him with the guns and stuff? And I thought about that. But now it maybe make perfect sense why. The state can easily come and pick that up on some of these different charges in different states. And there's nothing that Donald Trump or any of those people can do about it. Because if I'm not mistaken, that raid happened, and I believe that's still within the statute of limitations. And so for you guys who wanted to know, could they hit him again? The state can. Any state can. So if it's Cali that comes to him with these charges, that he violated these charges in our state, Cali can come and charge Diddy outside of the feds. You know what I mean? The feds can pick up a case and charge you for stuff that happened all over the country. But a state case, they'll charge you for what happened in their state. Those are two different entities. So when everybody says, "Oh, Diddy beat the feds," man, these motherfuckers might come with the state, and the state might be worse. Depending on, now they saw how the first trial went. They probably know how to come at this dude now. They probably gathered more evidence. They probably got more stuff that we didn't even see in the main trial. Wow, bro. Crazy work, man. Crazy work. So again, y'all let me know what y'all think, man. They said it in court yesterday, man. These people was in court. They said it in court yesterday that, you know what I'm saying, they was upset that they was questioning dude because they were saying, "Yo, why is you questioning Garen James? Because y'all's criminal case y'all got, state case y'all got coming out against Diddy." What? They got a state case coming against Diddy?
The school district took her job away from her. And so I always tell people, when you're involved in this kind of business, that kind of thing could creep up or pop up out of a hole 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Wow, that's something. Another thing that came out in court when his name is Garen James, when they were questioning him, the defense attorney stood up and said, he said, "Why are you guys questioning my client in regards to all of these issues? You're trying to gather information for the state case, criminal case that they're bringing against Sean Diddy Combs."
Damn. I know Diddy's, boy, his heart had to drop. But in my opinion, Diddy probably already know they were investigating him. Diddy probably, it's probably people that's telling him they already was preparing to bring more charges against him. So, you know what I'm saying? I think Diddy already knew that, to be honest with y'all. Y'all let me know what y'all think, man. Like, share, and subscribe, bro. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure y'all click those links below. Subscribe to the podcast show. You can donate support to the channel, Cash App, PayPal, or buy that weight loss formula. All the links are below. Peace.